People's councils in the cities of Donetsk and Lugansk have voted not to delay a referendum on autonomy for their regions, which had been scheduled for Sunday. This despite Russia's President Putin urging the activists in Ukraine's restive southeast to postpone a possible split from Kiev to push for a nationwide dialogue. People across the region have been refusing to recognize the interim authorities for months now, ever since the February takeover in the capital. They've also been calling for the rights of Russian-speaking Ukrainians to be respected and say they fear neo-Nazis whose influence is growing across the country's west. And let's now discuss the breaking news coming out of Ukraine's eastern regions with legal expert and blogger Alexander Mercouris, who's written extensively on Ukraine. Alexander Mercouris, welcome to RT. Very nice to talk to you right now. Does Russia have any influence over the actions of the Eastern Self-Defense Forces after all?
I think it does have influence, but it doesn't have control. And I think this is an absolutely vital point to understand, which some people in the West seem unable to understand. If you look at the reporting that's coming out from the eastern Ukraine, including from your journalists there, people like Graham Phillips, they make it absolutely clear that this is a conflict that is in the Ukraine itself and which is being driven by events in the Ukraine. Russia is not behind it. It does not control the people there. It has influence, but not control.
How do you expect Western states to react now here?
I think that some Western states are very negative about this whole proposal that's come out of Moscow yesterday altogether. But generally, I think there will still be efforts by some Western states to pursue negotiations.
Is the decision to go ahead with the vote going to change the situation on the ground? What can we expect?
No, I don't think it's going to change the situation on the ground. A few hours before, we heard Mr. Parubi, who is the head of the Ukraine's National Defense Council, one of the hardliners in Kiev, saying that the anti-terrorist operation, as Kiev calls it, would continue. Given that that was so, and given that there is no real offer of negotiations from Kiev, it was certain that the people in the Donbass would continue with the referendum and that the situation on the ground would continue as before. If there are further moves at an international level to convene a conference which will include the people in the eastern Ukraine, that may change, but that will take some time to happen, and we don't know that it will.
And finally, are the eastern regions capable of carrying out this referendum, do you think?
Well, I've heard that they've managed to print an awful lot of ballot papers, and at the same time, they also appear to have some degree of political control over most of the Donbass, over the eastern regions, the area that's in conflict. And also, it seems that they have obtained some kind of electoral lists, not the very latest ones, but earlier ones that were used in the 2012 election. So yes, I think some kind of referendum will take place. It will not be acknowledged by the West, but no one should have any doubts about the mood in this particular region. Opinion polls, separate from this referendum, show a great deal of alienation from Kiev and from what is happening there in this region. And I think the referendum, however it takes place, will confirm that.
Alexander Mercouris, legal expert and blogger. Mr. Mercouris, thank you very much indeed for your opinion. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And just a reminder, the people's councils in the cities of Donetsk and Lugansk have voted not to delay a referendum on autonomy for their regions, which had been scheduled for Sunday. This despite Russia's President Putin urging the activists in Ukraine's restive southeast to postpone a possible split from Kiev to push for a nationwide dialogue. And right now we're bringing you live pictures from the area, from Donetsk in particular. And people across the region have been refusing to recognize the interim authorities for months now, ever since the February takeover in the capital. They've also been calling for the rights of Russian-speaking Ukrainians to be respected, and they fear neo-Nazis whose influence is growing across the country's west. And of course, we'll be bringing you more updates on the story as we get them.